Welcome to APCUG's Wednesday workshops, where we get together and have presentations and discussions and learn a lot about technology. Today, our focus is going to be on email and a secure email program. We have with us a new presenter, and I will give you a little background for Dale Harrington. Dale spent about 20 years in the United States Air Force, where he performed a variety of tasks, including operating and maintaining instrumentation systems equipment. Later, Dale worked for Raytheon Support Service Company as the maintenance department manager, where he managed and directed the activities of maintenance technicians and supervisors engaged in the performance of contract maintenance service for the United States Air Force technical training operations at Lowry Air Force Base in Colorado, where he lives now. Dale, an interesting thing, worked for an organization called Computers in Ministry, providing technical support to local ministers in network support, internet connectivity, servers, email services, end user workstation, and related peripheral hardware and software systems. Since 1994, Dale has been a member of the board of directors for the Mile High Computer Resource Organization, otherwise, as you can see, Micro. He has presented numerous topics at Micro and other user groups in the Denver area. He also developed course materials for and taught introductory computer courses to seniors at local community centers. Dale Harrington enjoys helping seniors and younger whippersnappers productively use and enjoy computers and other forms of technology. And today he will give his presentation entitled Email 101. So David, we'll turn things over to you now. Unmute. Yeah, there we go.
Okay, John, thank you very much. As John mentioned, I have a varied background. So I've seen a few things that might confuse me, but very few. Doesn't mean I know what I'm doing, I just fake it. Presentation I'm going to give is about email. It's going to cover, is it dying? Talk all about email itself and how to use it effectively. So I'm going to go ahead and start a screen share.
Didn't get it yet. Oh, we're seeing your computer. I'm sorry.
It's still not showing up?
No, we are seeing the Zoom screen, so I didn't think it had shown up on mine.
All right, hang on. Let me drop it and try again. I thought I selected the correct screen, but yeah, I did. I selected the wrong screen. When you have more than one screen, I get confused.
Yep.
I'm old. What can I say?
Good one.
There we go. Okay. So let's talk about email. Mark Zuckerberg once mentioned that email is near the end. As he introduced features for Facebook, the Facebook messaging or the instant messaging type thing. Of course, that was marketing. And he's not the first person to indicate this. Teens today are heavily into social media. Email is not even on their list of preferred communications. So why? Well, life is moving fast. People are in a hurry. Not too many of us carry our computers with us when we're out and about, but we do have a cell phone hanging on our hips or tucked into our pockets. So that makes it a whole lot easier to communicate via text. Email doesn't excite the younger generation. As we all know as younger generations come of age, so to speak, they tend to cast off the things that their parents and the older generation used. So the younger generation just doesn't seem to think email is that great. And while email was the first method to share detailed information quickly past the physical bearers of the Pony Express or the post office, it wasn't always used efficiently. Most people found it to have a relatively steep learning curve to do it correctly. And also it could lead to way too much information being transmitted back and forth between people. That creates difficulty in sorting through your emails, finding the information you need to talk about quickly. And of course, we all know it very quickly became an easy target for spammers and con artists, so on and so forth. It's not really dying. So let's look at a few stats. I don't like statistics that much, so I didn't pick up too many. The Radicati group noted in as of 2020, there were 4 billion email users, and it's predicted to grow to 4.5 billion by 2024. In 2020, there were 306 billion emails sent and received daily. I think I got half of those. There were around 1 million legitimate emails are sent every second. That is 3.5 billion legitimate emails per hour. And notice the word legitimate there. I think that the article didn't mention this, but I do believe they were not counting spam. So we all know spam occupies probably 80% of the email traffic. 73% of individuals in the European Union were using email for communication in 2018, and it was only 48% in 2007. So it has grown quite a bit. So what is it? How does it work? This would be a review for most of you because you've been using email for quite a while. However, I have found a lot of people that have been using email sometimes don't have an appreciation or an understanding of what exactly is going on. So as we know, email is a way to send and receive messages across the internet. And being designed by human beings and not aliens, it operates similar to our post office or snail mail system. Addressing. When you want to send a message in the snail mail universe, you have to know the recipient's name, address, state, zip code, maybe the apartment number, etc. Email, you have to know the person's username, then you put an @ symbol, and then you put the email provider's domain. For example, the computer club micro is micro.pc.org@gmail.com. And text messaging, their addressing uses the cell number primarily. Delivery. The old way, sealed envelope. For some old timers, maybe Pony Express. And it was delivered to your home in your mailbox, or maybe you went down to the post office and picked it up. Email is, of course, delivered electronically. It is delivered and received by your email provider, Gmail, Yahoo, Outlook, whoever your mail provider is, and then either viewed over webmail or picked up by you from your post office. Text messages are very similar, except they transmit initially from your phone via radio waves to a cell tower, then over the internet, and then back down via radio waves to the other cell phone. Time. We all know how long traditional snail mail can take. A couple days, couple of weeks, sometimes It just doesn't get there at all. Email is typically delivered instantly or usually within a few minutes. I have seen email show up a day later, rare instances. That can occur when email gets stuck in a router that went down just at the wrong moment. And text messages are pretty much instantaneous also, most of the time. Of course, content. Traditional mail, you can send any physical item you want to send as long as it's legal. You can't send bombs. Can't send weapons. But you can send anything else, pretty much. Email, of course, everything has to be electronic, but you can send images, files, documents. Text messaging, you can do virtually the same thing, although it's a little bit more limited in what you can send and what is going to be usable on the other end. So, what are the ways that we do email? One way is using an email client. That's a program installed on your computer. So you access your messages that are stored on your email server or email service provider server, and you use a client or what's called a mail user agent for the IT folks. And the program you use might be Outlook, Thunderbird, Apple Mail, Windows Mail, something like that. The mail user agent connects to the mail server via either a post office protocol, which allows the program to download the messages to your computer, or the more advanced Internet Mail Access Protocol, or IMAP, which actually synchronizes the messages between the folders on the server and on your computer. Whenever you send a message, no matter how you're using email, it's sent using a protocol called Simple Mail Transfer Protocol. The protocols are only necessary for the internet to figure out what to do with the electronic message you're sending. Webmail. Let's talk about how webmail works. I don't know how many people use webmail versus a client-based mail, but it's probably 80%, maybe 70%. So a web-based mail service is accessible by using a web browser, Opera, Edge, Internet Explorer, Firefox, Chrome, etc. And as far as I know, most or probably all email services offer web interfaces to get to the mail on their servers. Webmail can be a little quicker when you're first starting out, because you don't have to download a program onto your computer and learn how to set it up to access your mail. All you have to do is log in with a web browser, enter your credentials, your password, and off you go. Now, webmail, because it's accessed by your browser, you can only read or compose your mail while you're connected to the internet. There are a few exceptions to that, but very unique situations. Think of using a browser to access your webmail as a remote terminal. You're viewing your email and you're viewing things on the mail host's computer. Your computer is just basically a dumb terminal. So if you liken it to the physical world, it's like going down to the post office to read or compose your mail, but you can't take your mail home with you. All right. Now, talking about these protocols, what do they mean? Most people may not be aware of what protocol they're using when they set up their email on their computer using Outlook or Thunderbird or one of those programs. The post office protocol requires you to use one of those programs. And the way it works is your mail is stored up on your mail service server, and your client, Outlook, Thunderbird, Windows Mail, or whatever, downloads the mail from the server, just like when the post office downloads your mail and puts it in your mailbox. You can configure your computer program, whether it be Outlook or Apple Mail or whatever, when you're using post office protocol. You can configure it to leave a copy of your mail up on the server if your email server allows that. Some don't. Also, in many cases, they allow you to leave a copy on the server, but only for a certain period of time. It might be 30 days. IMAP. This is the most common protocol used for mail at the moment. If you install a program like Thunderbird and you let it set up your mail automatically by simply entering your email address and password, chances are it'll use IMAP to set up your email. Because the advantage to that is it synchronizes your mail folders. In other words, anything on the server is also on your computer every time you connect to the internet. And your client, again, Thunderbird or Windows Mail, whatever program you're using, will download a copy of the message, but it leaves the original up on the server. Again, think of that as like going down to the post office, making a copy of your mail, and then taking the copy home, and you leave the original in the post office. One drawback to IMAP from the standpoint of the way it works and the way a lot of us work is it only synchronizes mail type folders. So if you're using a program like Windows Mail or Thunderbird or Outlook and you set up IMAP, you're only going to be synchronizing your inbox and your outbox and your sent type folders. Another way of doing mail, which is less common because you have to pay for it, is the Exchange server method. But if you have Microsoft 365 and you use a Microsoft email account with it, you're using Exchange server, whether you know it or not. Again, the client will synchronize all your folders between your computer and the Exchange server. And when I say all folders, I mean all folders. You tell it what you want to synchronize. That could be your contacts, your calendar, your notes, whatever you decide you want to synchronize. Your mail is always stored up on the server until you delete it. And again, it's just like IMAP. You are making copies and putting them on your computer, leaving the original up on the server. I mentioned that SMTP protocol. It's just the standardized method across the internet of sending mail. No matter what kind of email you're using, when you send your message, that's the protocol it's going to use. It used to use port 25, and nowadays, because of some security problems with port 25, your mail service provider, when you set up your account, may use port 465, 587, etc. There are other ports that can be used. Also, the secure connection now uses transport layer security, or TLS. Used to use SSL, which was secure socket layer. Again, the TLS just provides more security when you're sending your email. As John will get into when he talks about ProtonMail, there are ways to make your mail even more secure by using programs and mail servers that are inherently encrypted. Okay, now I'm going to move into less technical, more touchy-feely personal, because email is communication. Just like text messages are communication, letters are communication. We're communicating now by voice. So we need to know how to do that effectively, I hope. So in any form of communication, etiquette and safety are good practices. Etiquette, set of rules and guidelines help us communicate more effectively. We should know also how to protect ourselves when we're communicating. Now, if it's face-to-face, voice, there's less of a security problem. When you're doing written communications, especially electronic communications, you need to know a little bit more about how to protect yourself. So now, I don't know how many of you have some pet peeves that you'd like to talk about, but I have a few when it comes to email. So if I sound more zealous on some than others, you'll understand why. You should always include a greeting when you send an email. Dear Bob, or you know, something like that, just like you would if you're writing a letter. If you're sending a group email, for example, to your computer club, you're sending a newsletter out, you probably don't need a greeting other than here's the newsletter or something like that. But please always include the greeting. Another reason for including the greeting is it reinforces to the recipient that this message is meant for them. I hate it when I get an email from someone I'm not sure I know them, and they just start out talking. So I'm not sure if they sent the email to me or they accidentally sent the email to me and it was meant for somebody else. So please use a greeting. Subject. Always use a subject that is concise. It doesn't need to be 8 sentences long. And it needs to be relevant to what's in the email you're sending. And for heaven's sakes, avoid the cutesy stuff. Don't say, hey, look at this. Because guess what? I'm going to delete it. Because it doesn't tell me anything. It's just nonsense. Always tell the person what the subject of the message is. Something like, hey, Bob, here's my granddaughter's recent picture. Or here are pictures from our latest picnic. Things like that. Always use a signature so the recipient knows for sure it's you. Now, some people say, well, they're going to see my email address. At the end of the presentation, when I get almost to the very end, I'm going to demonstrate something that shows you. Some people don't know how to configure their email properly. And when they send you an email, the name that shows up is not their name. And in some situations, you can't actually see the email address either. Plus, some people's email addresses don't have their name in it, right? We've all seen that. So put a signature at the bottom of the message so they know it's you. And use very clear language. You cannot show body language. You can't hear tone of voice in an email. It's just pure text. Very good authors who write very good books have a very difficult time conveying sarcasm and irony or any other emotional communication. So use very clear language. Don't try to make jokes because it may not come across as a joke. And putting LOL after it is, quite frankly, insulting. All right. Another pet peeve of mine is before you hit send, proof your email. There's nothing worse than getting an indecipherable email with spelling and grammar errors. And I mean, sometimes I've seen emails written with no punctuation at all, no spacing between sentences. It's almost impossible to figure out what the person's saying. So let's face it, you want to communicate, not irritate. Pay attention to special formatting unless you're sending sort of like a publication type email. Some formatting may not appear on the other end the way you put it on your end. Different email programs and different email services even handle graphics, special formatting, and things like that differently. Most of the time today, people will see it the way you intended it, but quite frankly, every once in a while, a message shows up and it doesn't look anything like the original. Another thing that's hard to do, but pay attention to the recipient's expertise when you're composing or replying to their emails. Sometimes we tend to kind of abbreviate our technical jargon. We make assumptions about the recipient's knowledge. Don't be embarrassed and don't be shy to explain what you mean when you send an email. You risk insulting someone if they think you're dumbing it down, but at the same time, explain acronyms, explain concepts that may not be familiar to the recipient. Most of the time, you don't have to do this because you know the recipient. It's an informal message, but sometimes you need to do that. For those of you who use signatures that are at the bottom of every email you send, keep them brief. There's nothing worse than getting an email signature that has 17 lines of information. You may be proud of all those degrees. You may be happy you have 8 telephone numbers, 6 email addresses, but guess what? Your recipient only needs to know who you are and how to contact you. They really don't need all that other stuff. So please keep your signatures brief. Don't use all caps. We all know that when you use all caps, it means you're yelling. So don't do that. Now, every once in a while, of course, you're going to use all caps like I did here in this presentation to emphasize something. That's fine. Use the correct reply options. If you receive an email that was CC'd to, we have, I don't know, 99 participants at this meeting. If Judy sends out a message to 99 people and one of those people replies to all, everybody's going to see an email explosion. Now, Judy's not going to send it out that way. She's going to use blind carbon copy. So people will not see each other's addresses. So then you can reply and you won't be replying to everybody. But be very careful. Look at the message. If you see more than one email address in the to or the carbon copy line, then when you reply all, you're replying to everybody. But sometimes in a group discussion, like the board of directors of an organization, reply to all may be the appropriate way because you're having a group discussion and you want everybody to see your answer so they can act on your answer. So take some time when you're replying to think about what you're doing. Be considerate when you send an attachment. If I receive an email that has an attachment and the body of the email message does not explain what the attachment is, I delete the email. So if I'm sending the newsletter out every month like I do, I say, the newsletter is attached, it is called, and then I actually tell them what the name of that attachment is. So they know exactly what the attachment is, they know exactly what the name is. If they see anything different, then they should be suspicious. But be courteous, just think about what you're doing. All right, how do we use it effectively? And also, how do we use it safely? So let's talk about skepticism. It's not a bad thing. When you receive an email, even if you recognize the sender's address, be skeptical. Scammers can fake addresses all day long. Use common sense. When you read that message, or you look at the subject line, does that message smell right? If it doesn't smell right to you or look right, doesn't look like that person's normal way of communicating, something might be wrong. You may want to delete it and contact that individual to ask them if that's what they sent you. When you look at a message, we've all seen these spam and phishing messages that looks like they were written by a non-native English speaker that was converted from some foreign language to English. So look for that, because that's a common tactic. People sit down at a computer, they don't speak English as their first language, and they make a lot of grammatical and syntax errors. Spelling sometimes can be wrong. So that'll be sometimes a clue as to something's not right with that email. Now, when you are sending messages or forwarding a message, and the message came to you and the person who sent it to you did not use blind carbon copy, they used carbon copy or put everybody's address on the to line, that means when you forward that message, every one of those email addresses is going to be visible to the people you forward it to. So always, before you forward a message, clean it up. Go through it, look at it, and see if you're exposing anybody's email address that should not be exposed to the recipients. And we've probably all received emails from, these chain messages that have 100 addresses perfectly visible in the message. That's how spammers get a hold of addresses to send junk mail to us. So always use blind carbon copy to hide multiple addressees when you're sending messages. Sit down, take some time to learn how to use your email system or your email client properly. There's a lot of articles on the internet that will tell you all about how to do it. I think they've even written some books about it. Okay, effectively, how to use it effectively. You should always be as organized with your email as you would be in an office with a filing system. Now, notice I did not say at home with your own home filing cabinet. You can see in my background, my filing cabinets are visible. They're organized, not as organized as I'd like them to be. But use your email program or your email service provider's organizational system, like folders or subfolders, or in the case of like Gmail, they're called labels. Use them. Figure out certain subjects are similar to each other. They might all want to go into one folder. APCUG folder. Everything I get from APCUG goes into the APCUG folder. So if I need to find it later, I know where it is. Also, periodically clean it up. Every now and then you'll run across somebody whose email has 120 million emails in it because they never clean it up. We've heard of hoarders. Hoarders hoard physical things. Same thing happens in the email world. You get people that never delete anything. And then they wonder why their email system moves so slowly. It's because it's having to dig through 100,000 items. That's why you need to go through and delete things you no longer need. Now, suppose you think, well, maybe this is something I need to keep a record of for 7 years for, IRS purposes, things like that. Well, you can archive your email, and in most email systems, you can actually archive it by exporting it to a file and saving it as a separate file on your computer. You need to learn how to do that with your particular email system. And one other thing, do not use the trash bin to store emails you may need in the future. If you have a program like Outlook or Thunderbird, you can just put stuff in a trash can all day long and it stays there. If you use Gmail or any of the services on webmail, you put stuff in the trash can, it will be deleted in 30 days because they don't want to fill their servers up with your junk. So keep your trash can just the same as you do the trash can in your house. You put trash in it, and periodically it goes to the dumpster. Do not leave stuff in your trash can because you might need it. Now, before I get into the next topic, actually, I take that back. I'm going to go ahead and go through this, and I'm going to do a short demonstration on organization outside of my presentation. When you're considering whether to do email or do text, email is better for complex, persistent communications. Think of that as more than 5 or 6 sentences and a communication you may want to keep around and refer to in the next month or year. Text is better for simple transient communications. It was never designed as a filing system for all your business communications. There are programs, texting programs that the companies can purchase that allow employees to sort and store text messages in what are almost like folders, but they're not for the average person. Email is usually done on a larger device, a computer, a tablet, something with a bigger screen. So it makes it easier to see the message in its full context and to follow complex messages. Text is typically done on phones or devices with small screens. I don't know about you, but my eyes aren't that great anymore. So trying to read 28-line text or a chain of 64 texts on a cell phone is very difficult for me. Email is much easier to organize because you can do folders and labels. Most text messaging apps, like I mentioned, don't offer that as yet. So think of email as lending itself to more of a formal communication, and texting is typically an informal communication. So I'm going to go ahead and drop out of my presentation, my canned presentation, and talk a little bit about a couple of things I talked about. One thing I mentioned, paying attention to how you set your email up on your computer or on your email service. And sometimes the message shows up and you can't tell who it's from. You'll notice this message right here. And let me go up here, and I don't see the annotation. Well, right here, it's from somebody called Test. Who in the heck is Test? Luckily, they signed it right here. It's from Tracy and Lois. But for some reason, their email program is set up to identify them as Test. So learn how to make sure you're setting up your email program so that you can be recognized when your email gets to the other end. And this is not the only one like that. Here's somebody whose name is mail server. Now, I don't know about you, but I don't know who mail server is. Now, in this case, they signed it, so I know it's Betty. So again, that's another reason to always put a signature on, because without Betty, I wouldn't have known who this is. And the fact that it called her mail server is another reason to learn how to set your email up correctly. Okay, so another subject I talked about was organizing. Gmail is pretty easy to set up extra labels. You'll notice here in our micro email account, I have folders set up for things like APCUG, the board of directors, the place we meet, the Clements Center, another computer club's emails, and anything to do with meetings is underneath this, 2 different subfolders. So again, use the organizational tools that your email program provides you. Same thing with the dog computer club. We've got subfolders set up so we can find things quickly. So I'm going to drop this. And go back to the end. I apologize. So is email dying? No, I don't think so. It's maybe less effective today because people aren't taking the time to learn how to use it correctly. So we talked about what it is, talked about how we do it, both web-based and client-based mail, discussed the protocols briefly. Etiquette, again, email should be considered a formal communication. Be courteous and considerate, and be very careful how you reply to people. On the safety side of things, the most effective spam filter is right up here in the brain box. Computers can't be perfect. So be skeptical of any email you get that doesn't look right. And again, watch for those spelling and grammatical errors in the email. That'll might be a clue that it's somebody trying to scam you. Organizing your email is very, very important in my mind because it helps you find stuff later. Group subjects together and then periodically clean up your email. Don't keep stuff forever. And whether you're going to use email or text, email is better for those complex, persistent communications. Text is better for simple, transient communications. And that concludes my presentation.
And a very good one, I might add. Very detailed information. Judy, what's our choice?
Let me see here. A question for Dale. I have used Microsoft's email for more than 10 years now. Can I find my older 10-year-old emails, or have they been automatically deleted by Microsoft after a certain period of time?
I'm assuming you mean you've been using the webmail based version, in other words, logging in through a browser. And I do not know if Microsoft, I have a Hotmail account that I've had since God knows when. Mm-hmm. And I don't keep anything up on their servers. I dump it down to my computer and keep it on my computer. But I would presume, unless it's in the trash can or in the spam folder, that it would still be there unless you've exceeded the storage limit.
So that's one thing you need to find out is what your storage limit is and check it out.
Correct.
Just like with Gmail now that you don't get 16,000 photos stored for free. This is like the 3 Linux presentations we had. It is so thorough. That was my only question. But it was such a good reminder for everybody. You forget about what you did, and then somebody asks you how you set up this, you're kind of a blank. So that was a good reminder for that. And I so appreciate the courteous comments that you had in there. I receive over 500 emails every single month at my jtallure@apcug.org account, answer all of them, you know, get more questions back. And I so appreciate the ones that just aren't one sentence with no greeting, no signature. And it's like just one sentence and it comes out like a demand. And I know that people really don't mean that. It's just that I'm assuming they don't know better. And it does take a little bit, you know, longer to put something courteous together, but over time, it becomes automatic. And I can remember, if you guys, how many of you are going to know who Abby Stokes is? She's given a presentation to your group, or you've seen one she gave to APCUG. And it was always, "Dear Judy," and regards down at the bottom. And and her comment was, it needs to be just like you were writing somebody on, you know, typing a letter to somebody back in the old days when we did that, and folded it in 3 and stuck it in an envelope and sent it on its merry way. And it was always such a pleasure to receive those from her. And it reminded me I kind of needed to do the same. So great presentation. I thank you so much. And I've already gotten a comment from 2 or 3 people. Have to leave. Can't wait to watch the rest of it as a video. And a question from the gal with the email question: where does she find the storage information?
That's a good question. I honestly don't know for sure, but I suspect, and I'm going, since I don't know everything, believe it or not, I always just bring up online what I'm going to answer the question for. So I'm just logging into my Hotmail account.
I just looked at Gmail and it's not in your in. And my answer would be, you should Google it. John, I forgot to tell you to close your ears. I'm sorry. But I would just Google that question, because it's going to be different for every program.
Yeah, I don't know what the the online Microsoft Outlook, MSN, Hotmail, all the different email addresses they've had, what the limit might be. But yeah, Googling it or Binging it.
I have more questions here. Is there an effective way to unsubscribe from spam?
No, except never unsubscribe from spam. As soon as you hit the unsubscribe button from something you never subscribed to in the first place, you have proven to that computer system that you're a real human being, and now you'll get more spam. An anecdote about that: I had a pastor at a church that we took care of that he kept unsubscribing from every piece of spam he got. At a certain point, we had to shut his email account down and give him a new email address because he was getting like 10 or 15,000 emails a day. Because every time he got an email in, he clicked the unsubscribe button. And I told him, if you didn't subscribe to it in the first place, don't unsubscribe, because you're just guaranteeing they know you're a real person now.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, don't even try to unsubscribe unless you subscribed in the first place.
Thank you. And I have one comment. Kurt's pet peeve is people that send plain text email messages. Slows him down reading nicely formatted responses. Slows him down sending nicely formatted responses.
Yeah, that's my comment too.
And that was my comment too. All righty, over to John. Thank you so much, Dale. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Oh, and I do wanted to say the Dog Computer Club in Denver is Denver's other group.
I was wondering.
It
I
used
knew
to be,
you were.
it used to be the Denver Osborne Group.
Oh, okay, get rid of my. Our second part today, Dale gave us a very good discussion and presentation on email as a whole. And I'm going to take things further and talk about one specific email program. I'm talking about making your communications more private. I want an internet, all facets of internet that respects and protects my privacy. I'm getting really tired. And just today, as an example, getting ready for this, I logged into an email account to their main page outside the email. And I don't think it's coincidence, but there on the list of news articles and whatever was one of the UPS devices that I was looking for to replace what I had. And it was there multiple times. And I'm going, darn, how did they know I had been looking for that? Because it was the exact one that I had been, searching. I get tired of emails that arrive that have to do with things I'm looking for, emails or ads that show up that may have something related to something I sent somebody in an email or received from them. And I'm getting real tired of all this stuff because I'm losing my privacy. That's when I discovered ProtonMail and ProtonVPN. And today I'm going to share some information about these two programs to show you how you can secure your email and get more privacy with them. Proton Technologies is the company behind this. And their whole purpose, number of years ago, I've been using them for a number of years, was protecting your civil liberties online, along with making something that was easy to use, but still securing your email services. And they have a very smart set of security features. What they include is end-to-end encryption. The minute I hit send on my email, it gets encrypted and stays that way until the recipient hits open. So end to end. Proton company also has zero access to the user data. There is nothing that you can access because everything is encrypted. They're using very time-tested open source security, cryptography. And because it's open source, it's very visible to what's in it, and nothing gets added that makes it anything less secure. I think one of the biggest things is that ProtonMail is based in Switzerland, and Switzerland has one of the strongest privacy policy in that no one is able to access information out of their email services because of that. Some countries, the government has the ability to force providers to turn over things, but in Switzerland, it ain't going to happen. Besides the fact that they would have to really work hard to unencrypt things. they have anonymous email. And it's been so long since I had signed up that when I did a demo one for today, when you sign up for email, you don't even tell them who you are. You sign up with a username, and then you put in your password. There's no questions about where do you live, what's your address, when were you born, nothing, but you give me an email name, I'll make sure it's not been used, and a password. And that's it. Now, you do have the option that if you want to have a back door, you can put in an alternate email address or text number so that if you had some kind of a really problem come up, that you would have that back door to be able to get in. And the other thing, it's easy. This is one of the easiest email programs I think you can use. And so they didn't want to make it a tough one while you had to try to learn how to use this to make it so secure. Proton services started out with ProtonMail and of course contacts. Some people think it's two different ones, but it's kind of goes hand in hand. You don't need contacts really if you're going to use mail. They also then added on a VPN service. They've added a calendar, and currently they're in a beta mode for a on cloud drive system. And I will mention that the drive is not available for their free accounts, but you can have access to other cloud services if you needed them. So let's talk about what you get with Proton and everything. All your internal messages are encrypted. So that means that if I send an email to my friend who is also a Proton user, our messages back and forth are encrypted automatically. However, Proton will allow me, and I'm going to demonstrate this, to send encrypted messages to people who are not Proton people. There is a limit to 100 recipients. So when Dale was talking about Judy sending out to 99 people, she could do that with Proton. 101, she can't do it. That partly is their means to help curb anybody using ProtonMail for spamming if you're limited to 100. You get 25 megabytes of attachment limit per message, which lets you do a lot. And you can attach, and I've never done anything near like this, up to 100 attachments to each message. But you still have to deal with, there's a 25 megabyte maximum. So, you can figure out you can send 4 attachments or 4 attachments that total up 25 or whatever you want to divide up. Again, it's supposed to be more, limiting so the junk doesn't go out. So all plans have that. Now, when we talk about the free plan, you get to have up to 50 emails an hour and 150 a day. And for some people, they maybe do 10, 20, 30 maybe a day. So the limit isn't for somebody who's just doing a casual mailing for family and stuff, that limit's not bad. They get 500 megabytes of storage, the ability to create 3 folders and labels to organize, like Dale said, and you get limited tech support. But you also have access to their web-based support and email support. But this one is good for the general casual user. If you move up the ladder, they have a plus version. And as you can see, the longer you go with the payment, the cheaper it's going to be. It's $5 a month for that. If you do $79 for by year, it comes out to about $3.29 a month. And what it gets you is an increase to 300 emails per hour and up to 1,000 on a day. You get 5 gigs of storage. And you can buy an additional gig for $1 a month or $9 a year. So if you find out you need more, it's very inexpensive. You can get up to 200 labels and filters and folders to really organize. And you definitely have access to customer support. Now, in addition to what you get with the free version and these increases, you also get up to 5 email aliases. And what that means is I have one mailbox, but I can have up to 5 different extra addresses coming to it. And I have one that's for my workshops and my classes and things, that it's free John at ProtonMail.com. And so I have that so that when a message comes to me at the free John, I know it's coming from somebody who has either attended a workshop or attended a class and is probably calling for help, so I can be able to focus in on that. If you happen to have your own domain, then ProtonMail Plus will allow you to use that and in conjunction with your ProtonMail, so that you can continue using that and get all your mail, but going through the Proton system. They have what's called a visionary level, more expensive, but you get unlimited message limits. You get 20 gigs of storage to start, unlimited folders and labels, and you get priority customer support. Now, I did skip over there's one for business, but the business one, you pay by the user. Each user pays a certain amount, and it's more for business, and we're talking more for home use. But this one is a little bit, higher on that. But there might be some people who need to do this. And in the beginning, these were the people who helped start this up with their fundraiser or the fundraising to get it started. Along with that, the increases over the plus, you get to have 50 email addresses. So you're really building up, and it can support up to 10 different domains. As you can see, this is stuff that most general users wouldn't. The real other reason for the higher price in it is that with the visionary, you get 5 sub-users. Now, these aren't just aliases. These are actual sub-users on your level, and it automatically comes with the ProtonVPN visionary account. So that's why it's the overall one that you get. So as you look, the two that most people would be looking at would be the free and the plus. And here are kind of some quick, easy comparisons with the number of users, the same, storage, more, aliases, you get to have up to the 5, that one domain, I don't have one of those. The increase in messages, this chart had incorrectly said that plus was unlimited, but plus has 1,000. And the support. You'll notice that if you are somebody who needs to set up mailing groups, you can't do that in the free, but you can do that in the plus. Now, I mentioned that you also had the calendar and the drive. With the calendar, which I'm not doing today, is you get one calendar, which is adequate for everybody, what's going on each day, or you can have the plus with up to 20. Personally, I think I have 7 different colored coded calendars so that I can keep track of family activities, computer activities, and other such things. So the only thing that you can't do with the free one calendar is to share the link. The ProtonDrive, which is in beta right now, is not available for the free, but the plus has it, and you can access it by the web, upload, download files, and it's very nice because you can share files by way of a link. So if you have a file that you don't want to attach to a message, you can just send a link and somebody can be able to access that file really easy. Some of the special features that Proton has is that I've had people say, well, I've been using Gmail for many years, or Yahoo or something, but they have a way that you can import all your messages and all your contacts and get yourself up and going right away. With the logging, in addition to being able to have two-factor authentication, you can have two password ones. And I go with the two password mode because always I find my phone's not with me when I need to do that. And so it's just as easy to use a second password because they're good and secure. So with sending emails, as mentioned before, I can encryption them to non-Proton users, and using passwords, I can even send an encrypted or a password protected mail to a fellow ProtonMail user. And one interesting thing is that with ProtonMail, you can set it to expire at any given time, sort of like a Mission Impossible. The standard is about a month, but you can change it anywhere from 1 hour to whatever you want for that message to stick around. I was missing a slide somewhere. Let me see if I can find it back here. Because there was something I was going to say and I thought I put it in here. But it has, I'll just go back because it has to do with the number of mailings that you can do. And I'm going to get back. With the plus, as I mentioned, you can do 1,000 a day. But that's not 1,000 messages that I type up. It's 1,000 that I send out. Because when you add user names or email addresses to the 2CC and the BCC, each one of those counts. So when Judy sends that email out to 99 people, that counts 99 messages being sent out in her daily quote. So she couldn't have done that with the free because there's only a 50 limit on that. And again, like I said, the limitations they have works towards them keeping down spamming. And if they notice that you seem to be sending out an awful lot of messages, you'll get a warning. And then you'll have to respond to them and kind of explain what's going on. And you get too many warnings and they will actually shut down your account because of spam violations. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is I want you to see how easy and how this thing works, because it's just too slick for your presentation or for your protection. And let me get set up here. ProtonMail is a web-based, as Dale was talking about. So all of my messages are kept up with them. The email program or the server for these messages are so secure. These are in an underground bunker in Switzerland. And so they're really super protected. So I'm going to sign in. I did not on this demo do a two-part sign in because that's nothing to look at. It's just a two-part. But I am going to do this one. And so when we get signed in, what you're going to find out is that this is a very simple, same type of email program that most of the web-based, so there's no difficulty in learning how to use it. As you can see, I've got folders on the side that come with them, and there's my mail that's come in. I have contacts, and if I go to groups, I'll get a message that free people can't set up groups. So if you need it, you move up. If you don't need it, you can do that way. And so nothing different about the contacts, and the contacts go in and have lots of information about them. And I've just done, for the example, 2 different of my contacts. So as you can see, it shows you visually that you got new mail that you haven't read, and you can star them to make them more important. And of course, like Dale said, there's the archive if you want to save it. but you can also have folders to organize things. So let's go to looking at the key part about the security. And when we go to a new message, now new message you can see is nothing different. It's just there's the same things as the message. But if I go to my two, I want you to notice that I've got two addresses. If I select my Proton one, you'll notice up in the to box that there's my Proton that has a lock on it that says this is a secure connection, that this email will go through encrypted. If I pick my Outlook one, you will notice that there is no lock in front of it, because going to outlook.com is not going to be a secured one. I don't know why that spot's there. So let's go back and see what we can do for my Outlook that is not protected. Down at the bottom, I have a lock. And so if I open up that feature, this is how I can send encrypted messages to non-Proton users. And again, it's going to be 28 days expiring unless I do it. So all I have to do is put a password in. I can include a hint, but the better way is that prior to my sending a message, that I inform the person what their password is to, get in. So I've already done once, I cancel that one. So that makes it secure. And that's one big feature that I like, because if I have something that is more important to keep kind of encrypted and secure, I can do that. The other one, the little hourglass down here, as I said, the 28 days is the standard, but I can go down and say that I can even have an email that'll delete in an hour. Now, some of us, I don't always get to my email within an hour, so that would get me to check it. And then I could set that. All right, so I have already sent out a message. If I go to my sent file, you can see that I sent a message to both my accounts, and it was a test message. And so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to switch over to that Outlook account. And how about that? I have a message. And it says right here that I have received a secure message. When I click on the message, I don't really get the message. I just get a notification that this is a secure message. Since there's a timer on it, it lets me know I've got till August 14th, because I sent this a little bit ago. And then I put a password hint. And Judy said she figured that out. I didn't make it hard. And so if I want to see this message, I have to click view message. Oops, I don't get to see the message. Now I have to put in the password. And then notice I have come to Proton site. So the email that I send is not really the email, it's a link that is being sent to my person, and they are now coming to Switzerland, to the Proton server, and are going to be able to access the message. And so here was my message, and it lets me know I got 16 more days on it, and I can read it, and then I can reply securely, because right now I'm technically using the ProtonMail system to reply back to the person that sent me a ProtonMail. And so I just send back a message on that. And so I'm going to cancel that out and close this one out. Get that out of my way. Now I can see where that is. Didn't want to close out the wrong one. All right, and so I'm done with that. And if we go back, you'll see that here was the reply, and it just came back to me right from the Proton. Even though it came from the Outlook account, it has been a secure one. Notice up in the top corner, please, there's the lock that says this was a secure message coming back from Outlook.com. It can't be that easier to be able to now protect it, because from the minute I send out my message, nobody, not even Proton, sees the message, can see the message. It's immediately encrypted, and it stays that way until it's opened at the other end. If I want to get to the other features of Proton and Mail, you got your message box. There's the calendar. There's the ProtonDrive. If I click on it, it's going to tell you it needs to be upgraded to that. But there's the calendar, and it's a single calendar. But, you know, for general purposes, that would be enough for anybody. And so there's nothing special about this calendar other than it is encrypted too. And so nobody, if I put anything in here, nobody is going to know my business. Okay. So I think we're done with that here. Okay, so we're going to switch on now to talk about the Proton, because in addition to the email and my privacy and security, I also want my activities on the internet to be private and secure at the same time. So Proton also has a VPN that goes with it. Features for it, benefits, there's no data or speed limits. There's no advertising. There is absolutely no logging. Proton has no idea when I turn on my VPN and when I turn it off, how long it's been on, where I've connected. And it's also, again, protected by the Swiss privacy laws. The main features include also a secure core server, which they have 3 of these servers around the world. One's in Iceland, one's in Switzerland, and one's in Sweden. And if you connect to that, these are so secure that whatever you do, you're protected. What you do is you go to a secure core, and then you come back to another country to go out on your internet. And so even if the remote possibility that the server that you're coming out from has been compromised, they could go back as far as the secure core server, and then they're done. There is absolutely no way to trace you. They can trace you back to your home. They also have an ad blocker that does a real nice job of blocking malware and stuff that might be affecting. They have very strong encryption. And like I said, the physical security, those 3 core servers, 2 of them are underground, and the one in Iceland was a former military enforce building that is like bomb proof almost. So it is really good, and the strong protocols too that go through the internet. The full disk encryption again. There's no logs. You can even use the Tor browser servers, which is an added feature. It slows things down, but it is like putting security on top of security. Proton also incorporates what's called a kill switch. And if you have that running, if something happened that you lost your connection to your server, your VPN server, your kill switch would immediately block any kind of transmission going in and out of your computer until you reconnected with your VPN or until you shut your VPN off. You can also set it up to be an always-on VPN, that you never ever are on the internet without it being a VPN. Again, there are some levels. The free level, you have access to 23 servers in 3 different countries. The United States is one of them. You're allowed to connect 1 device at a time. You get kind of medium speed for your internet browsing. No login policies for everybody, and you can even access block content. A lot of people will use a VPN so that if they're somewhere that you're not allowed to get Netflix, they can go to a different server country and watch their Netflix or whatever. So all plans have that. Now, if you move up to the basic one, you jump up to 40 different countries you can be hopping out of, and 350 different servers. You can have 2 things connected at one time. So you can have your computer connected and your phone, or your laptop and your computer, or your laptop and your phone, because this works on all devices. So it's multiple devices, but you can only do 2 at the same time. And you get higher speeds for your internet. Now, in addition to that, the basic plan adds the PTP, person-to-person, BitTorrent support. I left out an all. The free doesn't get it. And this is good if you're trying to needing to transfer files back and forth for legit reasons, that you can have that. You also get the ad blocker with your basic. The Plus service jumps up to a whopping 1,200 servers in 55 different countries, and you're allowed to go to 10 VPN connections at the same time. That'd be, you know, you'd have all your computers, all your phones, all your tablets going crazy, and you get the highest speeds up to the 10 gigabytes for doing that. In addition to the what you had with the basic, the Plus gives you streaming service. So if you wanted to stream movies and things like that, you've got that. You also have access to those 3 secure core and the Tor server for your VPN. The visionary one is just the Proton Plus, adding all of the ProtonMail visionary stuff. So that's the same all-in-one package from either angle. So I want to give a quick demo on how this works. And this starts the VPN, needs to have a username login. And this is the free service, so you can see with it. You can also have it set to automatically start when your computer starts up. A lot of people do that because that way you don't forget about that. This is your screen. I will let you know that for at least my Linux, I don't have this cutesy map around on the side. I just have all the lists, which is what I needed. Currently, it says that, you know, you're not protected. If you want to, you can just say, connect me to the fastest available service for me. And down here at the bottom, you can see that with the free locations, you can go to either of these 3 countries and start your internet activities. I'll go to the United States and show you that with the free servers, there are 9 available to choose from. And there's probably the best one right now because it only is 37% loaded. And these couple ones are getting kind of high. And so I'm not going to connect because there's nothing to see. And I don't want to take a chance on the network switching out. We tried it the other night and it didn't disconnect, but I'm not going to try it. But you can see on the map that these are all the countries that are available to other people. But for this user, a free user, you've got the 3: Japan, Netherlands, United States, and there's the core, secure core in Iceland. Oh, I got to turn that. So if I turn that on for secure core, it's going to tell you that you don't have access to the upgrade, but you can upgrade to get the blocking. There's the kill switch, and the kill switch is available that if you turn it on, then if there's something happens that you lose a connection, immediately a roadblock goes up and stops anything from happening. So that's basically, and once you're connected, then you are at that server starting your internet activities, and off you go privately and securely. I'm gonna log out. Just to show you the difference, I happen to have the plus plan with both, because being an early supporter of ProtonMail, I've been supporting what they've done, and they've changed some of the plans over the last couple of years. When you do both ProtonMail and VPN, you get a discount. And if they're in the same category, I could be a Proton Plus Mail person and a Proton VPN Basic person. But since I'm both, that means that I get an even bigger discount. So that's why I'm running plus, having more than I really need with everything. Now, as you can see, with the plus plan, I've got all the access of all 55 countries. So you can see how they're all green. And if I go down to the United States to open that up, there we go. I have access to 238 different servers in the United States. These are the plus ones. And if we scroll down, we'll find, there we go. I just saw it. There's the basic. If you're a basic person, you got 88. And then of course, down at the bottom, if you want to be the free. And if I turn on the secure core, and then because I'm in the United States, I would connect between one of those three. So I could connect with Iceland, and then I would go to Iceland first, and then I would be coming back to wherever I'm going in the United States, and then out to it. So I'm going through two different servers that way. But I could, if I wanted to change things up, I could go to, no, I'm not gonna go to Russia. I could go first to Iceland, back to Norway, and then out and about wherever I was going to go. I can create profiles that will pick my mood of where I want to go to. And again, I can do a quick connect that way. So I'm going to log out of that one. I was not, originally I wasn't going to be able to, I wasn't going to show the core ones, but I decided to go ahead. But that would have been the slide to show you that if I wanted to come out of the United States, I could go to any of those three first and then come back through. So that basically talks about the very, very secure, privacy-oriented ProtonMail services for both mail and for VPN. As you look at, there's a number of combinations. You can just do mail, you can just do VPN, you can do both. You can do different levels. You can say, I want to have the low level of both ProtonMail and the free version of VPN, and that would satisfy your needs. It's the same security with any Proton VPN. It's just that the number of options that you have is increased the higher you go. And as you look at that, you can find out that there are discounts that you get for the longer you make a payment, and the more you bundle. So get me back to stop my sharing. There we go. And turn it back things over to Judy to start. Unmute yourself.
My 2 cents worth is I've been using private internet access. I believe they're located in Colorado. Jim Evans recommended it to me, at least 7 years ago. And you need to be aware that when you decide that you want to be in a different country, your bank might not talk to you. I needed to change a password on one of my credit cards, and I tried to do it, and I happened to be in Germany. And I couldn't convince the lady I was talking to when I couldn't, go online and change my password that I was really in Kenya country. And then it dawned on me, that's what she was saying is me, calling in from Germany. So be aware. After that, I am in San Jose, California. At least that puts me into the state where I live, and I haven't had any problems with that. So John, here's a couple of questions. Can you use POP or IMAP with ProtonMail to put the messages on your computer? If so, would messages set to expire still disappear from your own personal hard drive?
Good question. I did forget to mention that with ProtonMail, they have a bridge program that will connect your ProtonMail with either Thunderbird or any client that is residing on your computer, and would then bring your mail to that. So actually what it does is you type the mail on your computer, it has to go to your Proton server, and then it has to go out. I don't use that because I just said I'm not going to have a second step. I just use the web, but you can. Since you, as Dale pointed out, that most of the time with the IMAP, you are getting a copy. If the copy leaves, it's gone from the server. It might stay on your computer, or it might go away too. And I'd also say on your 2 cents worth that when you are using VPNs and you go looking for things like your Amazons or whatever, if they sense that you're outside the United States, the prices may be in pounds or something else. And even though it's not an exact one-to-one exchange, you need to be able to hopefully be able to tell the website, change your things to US dollars so I know exactly what I'm spending.
Thank you. How many Proton email addresses are allowed, and how do you sign up for it?
Okay. Email addresses, you usually have, if you're on the free or the plus ones, you have one email box. But I have 4 different email addresses. The original ones when I started with ProtonMail was a .ch, and then they went to a .com. And now I have access to a very simple one called @pm.me, private mail me. So there's 3 there. I also have my free John one, so that makes 4, and I can have 1 more if I decide to create one. But all of the mail comes to the same mailbox, but it's just addressed to the different ones. And that just kind of helps me if I give out that address for my free John, then when I get those back, it kind of gives me a clue where it came from. So that to sign up, it's just go to protonmail.com. And again, it's a free to start. And then they have a link to the ProtonVPN, free to start. And then as you see what you like and what you need, there's an upgrade button in your dashboard that you can increase that.
Can ProtonMail import a Google Calendar?
Yes.
Oh, thank you so much.
I did that because I was using a Google Calendar and I didn't want to have to type all of that in, and so imported in just like I imported all my addresses out of either Thunderbird or Gmail to populate my contacts.
Cool. I get a kick out of it. This question was sent to me with some of the words as you would a text. So if I'm going to put this in the Q&A, I have to retype the words. With ProtonMail email, are you able to set up a receipt that lets you know that the email which was sent was received and read?
I don't remember seeing that yet. It's possibly something that might be coming because there's always changes taking place, and I don't remember 100% if I read that it might be coming. My comment on that is that a lot of times the person who receives the mail has the ability to say, I'm not answering that question. Not respond back to those.
Is the ProtonVPN cross-platform for Linux and Mac?
Judy, you can answer that question. She knows it. I'm running on the laptop next to me. It's my Linux one, and that's the VPN on it. And like I said, the only difference that I've noticed is that on my Linux, I don't get that cutesy map that shows all the zigzags across the world. I have everything else the same. I don't need that cutesy map. So yeah, it's cross-platform, and the mail is web-mailed, so it's no problem. And there's a client. There's also, for strong Linux users, there's a command line version that you can do if you don't want to use the GUI, graphical user interface.
Does your ISP know that you've connected it to a VPN by the destination IP of the VPN server?
To my knowledge, no. Especially if you're using a different DNS server, so that you're not even going through your ISP for internet work.
Can contacts import VCF files?
I'd have to go up and look. I know I have to remember, what did I export my Google contacts out in? I know that they do the standard one. I'd have to look, and again, as Judy would say, go to their website and their knowledge base, and I'm sure it tells you right there. I would guess that it does. If you can export that out, it probably imports it in.
Oh, does it work on a Chromebook?
We'll have to ask somebody who's a Chromebook user.
Bill, can you answer that question? Does a VPN work on a Chromebook?
I cannot. If there's an app in the Play Store that you can download, I would say yes, but I don't know off the top of my head.
Dale will have an answer for us shortly because he just asked that question with his fingers.
Thank you, Dale.
Unmute yourself, please.
Yeah, they don't have an answer.
Oh, okay. Then I'd say no.
Well, if there is a VPN app in the store, then yes, but
Yeah.
I don't know that. I don't
Okay.
have. I'll go get my Chromebook and see if there is. Hold on.
Oh, thank you so much. Don't forget to shut off your video.
I most certainly am.
Now, Bill has sent a couple of emails through that says, hey, you guys that don't have your first and last name on there, don't forget you are not going to receive the handouts. And remember, 12 people did not receive them. And I'm closing the chat box now, and let's go to live because we have 2 questions. And Stu just might have the answer to our Chromebook question.
Not yet, because I have to get to the control thing for
Okay.
that.
Get to the control thing.
There we go.
There it goes.
Over to
Hey,
you.
the answer on Chromebooks is I use private internet access, the same one you mentioned, Judy.
Okay,
And I use it on the Chromebook all the time. So it's like Bill said, if you have an app for it, it will work on the Chromebook. So the technology of a Chromebook does allow for a VPN. That's all.
thank you so much. I knew you would when I saw your name up there. Over to Boyd. Your question, please.
Can you hear me?
Yes, beautifully.
When I sign up for one of these programs, I always sign up with my email address and my first and last name, but I don't. When I sign in on this, I only put Boyd.
I know.
Is
but
that why you're only seeing one name?
yes, and there might be two Boyds.
Okay, I'll remember it's Boyd. It's T-O-N-G.
Right, I know, but
Okay.
but there might be more than one Boyd.
Okay.
registered.
Can you
Okay.
change it? Can you change your name?
Yes, he can.
How do I don't know how to do that without turning this off.
You right click on your thumbnail picture and choose rename.
Okay, on my thumbnail picture, and I'm on Linux, it gives me save page as and a whole bunch of things, but there's no way to change the name.
John,
What's your last name?
answer
T-
that, please.
T-O-N-G,
Well,
Chinese.
when I right click on Linux, I get unmute and hide and rename and self view. Are you doing a right click on your picture?
Yep. I'm not getting.
Done. Forget it. T-O-N-G. Got it.
Okay,
No,
thank
no.
you.
Bill, we wanted to make sure he knows how to do it so we can do it next time.
Well, next time I sign in, I will use both names.
Outstanding, thank you.
It is changed now.
We
Okay.
are into live Q&A. John's gonna unmute everybody
They're unmuted.
and let's see some raised hands. Oh, good, Fred Flintstone is here.
Do we want to let him in or not?
I did, but we'll get him to change his name. Or he's been raised from the cave or something. Do we not have any questions for anybody except everybody's still muted, John?
Oh, yeah, they have to unmute themselves.
Oh, okay, you can't. I thought you could do that automatically.
Now, you have to ask permission or tell them all.
Oh, okay.
I don't want to do everybody because all of a sudden if everybody sneezed at once, we would go.
Any questions from anybody?
This is Boyd again. My wife asked me to ask, will the ProtonMail work on with an Apple product? I assume it will, but
Yeah, it's web-based.
okay. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
No, if there's no questions, it's going, gone.
Hold on.
I had questions, but you answered. They were answered.
Good. Hey, Kathy, how you doing?
I'm doing fine.
Good. She's on the other side of the valley from me.
And I did put my computer club name on.
I noticed that. I appreciate that. Carol Wolf raised her hand. Carol, you've got a question. Don't forget to unmute yourself.
I think I'm unmuted, right?
Yep.
Yes.
Okay, I have a question about the emails. And I have a problem with, I know I've got a lot of emails, but sometimes some of them don't open when I go back to look at prior ones that I have in my, like in a folder. And that's one question. And the other question is, I go into my folder sometimes and there's nothing there anymore. So I wonder what happens to my emails that I have stored in there.
Carol, what email system are you using?
I'm using Comcast.
And are you using it online using a browser?
Yes.
Yeah, I'm not sure what Comcast does. They may have a retention policy where they delete emails over a certain age. I don't know for sure. That's why I don't typically do webmail. I use a program like Outlook and bring everything to my computer.
Mhm. Okay, so then even though I've stored them in my folders, they would still not be there for that reason? Excuse me.
It's possible. I am not sure. I'd have to research it. Like I said, I don't use their webmail, but typically they should not remove anything except stuff in the trash or the spam folder automatically.
That's a call to Comcast tech support.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you.
You might get better results if you use their chat support.
Okay,
Yeah.
thank you.
Yeah, I think that's another reason too, that maybe to use a major web server like the Google, Outlook, Gmail, ProtonMail, because they definitely have longer periods before they empty stuff out. And you can just have your local Comcast or Roadrunner mail sent to that one so that you can use it.
Dennis, you're on.
Judy had mentioned that she used the private internet access, and that comes out of, I can't remember where, Colorado or something. I think the thing that I don't understand when John was explaining it is he had a list. You can pick Japan, you can pick United States, a whole list of things. What would, Judy is out of one place.
No.
Why did?
No, the company.
Yeah, the company is located in Colorado.
Okay, so what would be the purpose of changing Japan one time, Germany another time, some other country? Are you playing hide and seek from people? If you use the same place all the time, is that a problem? I mean,
If you're using a VPN, not as much, but the idea is sometimes people do not want other people, third parties, to track down where you're going, what websites you go to, you know, where you're coming from. So a lot of times people do it to get around restrictions in like the country you live. If the country you live in has some strict restrictions on things, you go to another company and you can access websites a lot easier, or services a lot easier. You know, it depends on your level of how much security you want. You know, if you go to a, you know, Proton secure mail from United States, you're first going to go from your house to them back to some server in the United States, and nobody is going to be able to track where you're from. If you use something like the Tor browsing, they do it with 4 or 5 different hops. You go to them and they hop around the world, and there's really, you know, hard to trace back to where you're coming from. It's your level of degree of privacy you want and security. You know, but Judy said that she can go from somewhere in California. That way, when she goes to some websites, there's no problem. I have the same thing. If I'm coming from another country to a website, sometimes it doesn't work. So all I do is say, okay, switch me back to a server in the United States. And then it works fine.
And I raise my hand so I can say, Dennis, I don't live in San Jose. I live in Southern California.
okay.
So it's not showing my IP address. It's showing some strange IP address out of San Jose, California.
Yeah, it's all a matter of how much security and how much privacy do you want.
And when you were looking at your list, John, you said, oh, this one's at 90%, but this one's 30%. What was that percentage you were talking about?
How many other computers are connected to that server? So the load that server somewhere can handle was up to like 90%. So, you know, you want to go to one that's not as loaded. So, you know, you choose one that's green, you know, it's color coded, green, yellow, and red. So the red ones are almost at capacity. And so it's like, you know, any kind of store you want to go to, if you have 2 choices, this store is packed with people, this one's not, okay, we're going to go to that one.
Okay, thank you.
That's like with Zoom. When you set up a meeting, you set up your account, you can choose which servers you want Zoom to direct your stuff through. And if it's always wise to choose more than one. And if one has got too many meetings going on, they will send us from US to Canada or very possibly Australia. Those are the three that we have chosen for APCUG's meetings. Bill, the screen is yours.
Just add to information, both ProtonMail and the ProtonVPN is available in the Chromebook in the Play Store.
Yay.
So you can use it.
Ellie, the screen is yours.
Thank you. A two-part question.
Ellie, not me.
Oh, yes, this is Ellie. Two-part question. Hello? Oh.
Ellie.
Go ahead, Ellie.
We're getting
somebody-
an echo from you.
Oh,
I
sorry.
muted Sally.
Oh, sorry, that was Bill's echo. Go ahead, Ellie.
Yes.
You're on.
Okay, thank you. Two-part question. Is there a domain name that we'd have to change, say from a Gmail account, something.gmail? And the second part is if you can compare the ProtonMail to Thunderbird. Thank you.
The domain name you're changing because you're going through a different server. You're going through Gmail server right now, so you have an @gmail.com. I'm going through Proton, so I have an @proton.com. But you do change it, just like I changed from when I was on a Roadrunner and went to Gmail. It's based on the server company provider that you have. But I can have my Gmail all sent to ProtonMail for me that are still coming. Or I've kind of separated the Gmail as kind of my junky one, the ProtonMail is my personal business one. Second question, Ellie, again?
Compare it to Thunderbird.
Oh, yeah. Thunderbird is a mail client. All it is like your assistant to go out and get your mail. So Thunderbird says, okay, I'm going to run to the post office and bring your mail back to you. It's just like the old Outlook Express that we all used decades ago. ProtonMail is a service that uses web-based, but I could also use the bridge and connect ProtonMail to Thunderbird. And so I would just do my Thunderbird mail as normal, but it would first send it to Proton so it could be encrypted and then go out to whoever I was sending it to. So I don't use it just because that's a second step, but I could. Does that kind of give you the answer?
And don't forget, some of us don't understand when you refer to client.
Yes.
Okay.
And then so with
yeah, the client is what you install. It's a program that you install on your computer to go and harvest your mail.
Could we stop using the word client and use the app or program we install and we use?
Well, it's because Thunderbird's not an app. It's a
No, I know, but just on other things to make it more clear.
Yeah, it's an application or a program that's installed on the computer to do the work.
And the interesting thing is that Dale used the term mail user agent. I had not heard that before, but that is exactly the same thing. So that's a better term.
Yeah, that's a good one.
That's the formal name.
What was the third name? Mail user?
Mail user agent.
Okay, so that doesn't make any sense to me either. How about
you have to realize there's two ones. One is the web mail, which is actually on the web.
Yep.
And the other one's the one you install on your computer, which is the client.
Cool.
And Dale used the term for the client as being mail user agent. And that's that would be something like Thunderbird or
Outlook,
all those things. Those are installed on your computer.
Outstanding. So the differentiation is webmail that I use and programs, apps, whatever you want to call them, web email programs that you install on your computer.
That reside on your hard drive.
Yep. Very good.
along with most of the time, reside with your mail on your computer, not somewhere else.
Perfect.
Exactly.
Thank you so much. Della, the screen is yours.
My question is,
We can barely hear you. Could you speak up?
according to John Kennedy, that you use ProtonMail, you can send out the email. Also, you can send out the text message, right? If you send out a text message, the smartphone will receive your text message. So,
ProtonMail doesn't send out text messages. It just sends out regular emails. But there's a ProtonMail program for my phone, which I use, or for your, as Bill said, your Chromebook. So I can send to my phone or to my computer either way, because it's all web related.
when you want to send out a text message or email, do you do it differently or same way to send out?
Yeah, you don't send out a text message. You only send out email with ProtonMail or Gmail or Outlook Mail.
But
Text.
the other side receive the information. If a text message is the smartphone will receive that message.
Only if somebody uses a text message application to send it to you.
Okay. Second question is that the Outlook have Outlook software, right? You download the Outlook software on your computer. When you receive email, you can download to your computer so you can save your emails.
Bill, that's to you because you're a Microsoft person, not me. Or
Correct.
to Dale.
When you install Outlook on your computer, it is an Outlook. There is an email client, and it's configured, can be configured to download your mail from your mail server.
So Thunderbird is the same thing. It's a software you can download on your computer.
Yes, Outlook is a program. It's not free. You have to pay for it.
Yes. What about Thunderbird?
Free.
Thunderbird is free. Yes.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah.
And
One of the
if you Google the question, can I send text messages or receive text messages from an email program, you will get the answers you're looking for.
Correct.
The other thing that causes confusion, and has for a long time, is that when Microsoft switched Live Mail to Outlook Mail, now you have an Outlook program that goes on your computer, and you also have an Outlook Mail on the web. And that, I know, has confused a lot of people over the years. And what's interesting, I didn't show it there. I always like to show it. When I signed into Outlook Mail today, the taskbar or the address bar says Live Mail. So they're still using the server. For
Yeah,
live.
the Live Mail one is the web-based one.
Right.
And
But yet,
go ahead.
I'll say, but yet you're typing in outlook.com to sign in, but then it switches to Live Mail, which is the old one.
Right. And the further confusion is that Windows Mail is another version of, which is just proprietary to Windows 10 or so.
Microsoft has a Live Mail. Microsoft also have Hotmail. And
well,
also,
Hotmail is an old term.
Yeah, Hotmail is an address.
Yes.
Right. And if John just said when he types in outlook.com, it takes him to Live Mail. When I type in outlook.com, it takes me to my Hotmail account because Microsoft changed hotmail.com to outlook.com many years ago.
Right.
And when I log into my Hotmail account, I'm on outlook.live.com.
So there is nothing standard, good old Microsoft. Yay.
Make it simple.
They changed their minds.
Yep.
Over to Carol. The screen is yours.
I just have one more question. If I wanted to sign up for the Proton thing, what is it, proton.com, or is there a special way of doing that?
ProtonMail.com.
Oh, ProtonMail, thank you. Would that be bad? So that sounds better than doing Comcast. Maybe that would solve some of my problems.
It could very well.
Well, any other than using a ISP-based email is better.
Yeah.
With Roadrunner back in the day, we
Mhm.
all had to have Roadrunner accounts with Time Warner. I created one. I filled it up with bogus emails, so everybody got a bounce if they happened to find out, because I didn't want a scvjudy@roadrunner.com. I wasn't planning on using it.
Okay,
So
thank you.
You decide what you want to use. I'm a Gmail kid, and I can send 2,000 emails every 24 hours, up to 500 at a time. And when I have over 1,500 folks on my in my address list, so they come out via MailChimp. If it didn't, I would have to send 4 separate emails, and that's what I used to do. And Gmail, I did that the first couple of times, and Gmail sent me an email and said, you know, you might want to use one of these, programs that you can send them all out at once, and you will get less bounces. And I went, really? Thanks for sharing. And I was really surprised that they would tell me that, and they did. And I can send up to 2,000 emails via MailChimp with one mailing. But after that, I'm out of the water until the next day.
Yeah, no one uses that. And I did put that information in the chat. I'll repeat it again. That shows
The chat's going to go out to everybody.
I think the thing that the purpose of my part was with the privacy and stuff, because we know how much Google is reading your mail and checking on what you're doing. So it's a matter of, there's a number of different privacy type emails besides Proton, but that's the one I advocate and support and everything. But I'm sure that there's somebody else and it would be great if they wanted to do a presentation on a different secure private email. That would be great. But I'm just tired of people knowing what I'm doing.
Then my comment is, I've been doing this for so long, and we didn't know we were supposed to keep everything so private that I am listed on all the bathroom walls out there on the internet. And I just got an email. I just thought for grins I would check that. And it has a question in it. So hold that thought there. Oh, and I will go back. I still use the Outlook program for Microsoft Office 2010. It seems to work fine. Are there any disadvantages to doing so? I've been warned not to upgrade to Office 2016 or later. And my comment would be right off the bat is, who in the world warned him about that when we're all, not all, but we're finding 365 is such a cool program?
Yeah, I can answer that. You can still use Outlook 2010 if you want. It still works. And if you don't want to go out and pay for Office 365, then you can stay with Outlook 2010. Security might become a problem when they stop. And I think they've already stopped publishing security updates for it. But it still works. I have several club members that still use it.
Oh, I still know people that still use XP.
No.
But you can also go out and buy Outlook 2019, but it costs you $94 as a standalone.
Right, but over time, very quickly, that will stop being updated, and they are, I understand, going to come out with one more standalone.
Yeah, the days of standalone programs are disappearing, and we're going to go back to distributed processing.
Any more questions? Okay, if I do not have your first and last name in front of my very eyeballs, You aren't getting anything. I can play detective only so far, but over time it becomes really time consuming. So John, take us off.
Okay, thanks so much. This has been another month. We've had 3 different workshops. In August, we are going to be skipping the traditional third Wednesday Linux because that's VTC week. And Judy, Bill, and I have lots of things we have to do to get ready for the VTC. So we won't be meeting. We have one tentatively scheduled for the second Wednesday. And I don't know anything about the last Wednesday, but watch your emails, emails for any kind of information and to register for that.